This podcast is brought to you by the Disabled But Not Really Foundation, a local Kansas City nonprofit organization that pushes to instill a physical limitless mindset that breeds courage, confidence, and competence within the disabled community. You can follow and support Disabled But Not Really on social media or go visit their website at disabledbutnotreally.org. Their work and their mission is to really impact communities and make more people understand the benefits of inclusivity.
Oh, hi. So I think we are on and live and ready to go. That's what I think is happening. How is everyone doing? I'm here with Lauren Lolo Spencer, who we've been talking about for probably a year now, right, Wes?
Yeah, it's been a minute, Lolo.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow, y'all been talking about me and I'm just finding this out.
Yeah, literally, we had a conversation, like off-camera conversation. We're like, who can we get on? Who's in this space? Who's a person of color? Who's in this space that is the intersection of everything, disabilities, Black, all the things? And he was like, check out my girl Lolo. And so this was like last October or November, I think. And so, Lolo, thank you for coming on with us. And can you introduce yourself to our audience this Sunday?
Yeah, so I am Lauren Lolo Spencer. I'm a model, actress, content creator, public speaker. I started a YouTube channel a few years ago called Sitting Pretty. And ever since launching that channel, where I created content about disability lifestyle, showing disability in what I like to say a fun, fly, sexy kind of way, really showing the ins and outs of disability, from sex, dating, and relationships to how to make your home accessible, to things not to say to people with disabilities, and the entire spectrum. So since then, just been building my platform, continuing to create content more so on the Instagram and Facebook side now. And just doing my thing in all the little areas, and just wanting to represent disability as much as possible.
I appreciate that. And I know you connected with Wes, and I will share with our group that I feel a connection because you are, and I'm native Californian, born and raised in Berkeley, grew up in LA, went to college, UC Santa Barbara. I own a house on Wellington off of now Obama and Crenshaw. And so I'm old school LA.
I love that. No, I love that. I mean, I'm originally from Stockton.
I saw that. I saw your shirt say Stockton represent. I was like,
exactly.
Okay.
Stockton represents everyone. Exactly. So originally from Stockton, but living in LA, have been for the past 15 years. So shout out to California girls.
There you go. And I guess you like Southern Cal a little more than Northern Cal.
You know what? It's not necessarily one over the other. It's like my childhood and my roots. I love it forever being Northern California, but where I need to build a future is in Southern California. So,
of course, just for the audience, being native Californians, there is a little friendly schism between Northern Cal and Southern Cal. NorCal thinks they're like rooted and grounded, and they have the East Coast vibe. Southern Cal, we're like loose and free and just open, but we're all like in this wonderful space together. And I'm actually going to Sacramento and Oakland. I was born in Berkeley, so we're going to a family wedding next week.
Nice.
So roll through because Stockton, Richmond,
it's an interesting place, is what I'll say about that.
It's roots, right?
It's roots. Either you from there and you get it, or you not, and you're gonna find out very quickly.
Hello. And I think Wes is going to be, he feels a kindred spirit with us.
Yeah.
I do. I'm on my way. We talk about it all the time, right, Lolo?
Yes. I be trying to tell him.
We're in the works. I mean, I feel like manifesting, you speak things into existence. We always talk about that, right, April? And Yeah, I've been speaking my LA life. I've
There
been
you go.
speaking, and I think just connecting with people like Lolo, we got a good friend, Steph Thomas as well, and like just being able to connect with the real right out there. It allows me to kind of see it in a different light. So yeah, I'm feeling it. I like NorCal too, though. Like, hey, my couple times down in the Bay really spoke to me. So I'm just, but it's beautiful, and it's something that I think when you look at just the culture and the environment, it always shifts your perspective, and I think that's for people that's trying to grow. Yeah, that's like a driving force. You just can't get caught up. You got to keep going.
Facts.
You said the key word, don't get caught up, right?
Yeah.
That is it. Because you could get to LA and get real caught up. You could do that anywhere. But when the lights are shining bright,
That's the thing. LA is a very what's that saying? Smoke and mirrors kind of place where, if you're not focused, if you don't have real roots and morale, just the way you was brought up, LA will eat you up and spit you out alive. I've seen it happen so many times to so many different people. They just couldn't hang because they got caught up in everything else and then realized that lifestyle wasn't their reality, but yet they were trying to keep it up. So they ended up sacrificing their well-being for the smoke and mirrors of LA to find out that person wasn't even really living their lifestyle either.
Mm-hmm.
But, they may have a different hustle than somebody else. And then, it's like, I got to go back home. And it's like, we told you not to do it. We told you to stay focused. We told you to leave that person alone or those people alone.
Yeah.
It happens.
That brings me to like this test. Like you said, like people will get distracted from their well-being.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what we're about. Like, how do we stay rooted and grounded in our well-being, especially when the entire world tells us we are not well. We are not well because there's this norm that you're supposed to live to. There's this norm of how your hair should look, how your skin should be, how your physical body should be.
Yeah.
I think I had body dysmorphic issues. I grew up as a dancer, dancer. I would go right next to the Beverly Center, take dance classes. I went to Hollywood High School for Performing Arts. I was a cheerleader. So I just my mother was very nutritious, eat right. But I had a feeling I was like a size 1, 2 all my life. And now I call myself fluffy. I call myself my fluffy weight. Nice. But in my mind, I always thought I was supposed to look and be a certain way because that's what I saw. So I want to bring that to you as a woman who uses a wheelchair, which you gave an amazing YouTube video on the different types of people who use wheelchairs, the different types of wheelchair. It was amazing. But how do you maintain your well-being in that space? And then you present it to all of us.
Yeah, there's levels to that, right? Because I had a similar experience, right? Especially once I got to college, because in high school, when you come from a small town like Stockton, there is no aesthetic necessarily that you feel like you need to keep up. You grew up with everyone there, so everyone that you went to grade school with, you go to high school with, so everyone feels like family. It's very comfortable. But then you come to a city like LA and now you're in college. So what is expected of you is this sense of womanhood and sexuality that, if you didn't tap into in high school, you're really figuring it out in college. So for me, as a woman with a disability, I always struggled with my weight for 2 reasons. One, because my actual disability, because I have basically a form of muscular dystrophy. I don't have the muscle mass and the muscle strength that adds the body to my weight. So the weight to my body, excuse me. So I'm extra, extra slim to where it's almost like not cute, right? Or what they say is not cute, I should say. They say that's not cute. Then you're a Black woman. So when you're a Black woman who's really thin, you're really not desired, right? Because if you don't have, are we allowed to curse? Okay. If we don't have a big ass, big titties, flat stomach, brick house style, I mean, there's songs about Black women's bodies. And if you don't measure up to that, then you feel even more worthless, right? Then you add that you're in a wheelchair. All of that compounded really creates a sense of insecurity, because you hear what the men are saying. You're hearing the men that you're attracted to, what they say, and you don't feel like you can measure up. And not only that, you can't help that you can't measure up, right? And that's where my insecurity was rooted in for a very long time, was I can't help that I'm this skinny. I don't want to be this skinny. I shouldn't be this skinny because I need the weight for my own survival, literally, like my own survival. But I can't because I'm in college and I'm eating ramen noodles every day. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
You're in college, you're eating ramen noodles every day. Then you're hearing all of the guys, whether it's your homeboy or not, saying this, and that. And it really creates a sense of worthlessness. So I had to find the creative ways that I felt good about myself outside of my body and tap into what those things were and really build up those things. So for me, it was my personality, my outgoingness, my sense of humor, my fearlessness. Those were the things, my talent, my skill set. At that time, I was video editing. So creating visuals, like those were the things. And I really focused on those things and made those things my style, those things, the focal point of what made me feel good, and grew my confidence in those things. So that way, when I did think about my body, I wasn't mad at my body anymore. I was like, oh, the dope thing is my body is the reason why I get to have this personality. I get to dress up this body with my style. And I focused on all of those things. And the more I looked in the mirror, I would tell myself affirmations towards my body. I would literally look in the mirror ass naked and be like, bitch, you was looking good today, girl. Girl, you was out here, girl. Look at them little titties. You was winning. You are winning today. Let's show these off. Literally, I had to do that. So the more I did that, the better I felt about myself. And I realized that these men don't care. They don't care. They don't care. They don't care. You just got to be like a nice person, and that's just in general, right? So then when I started my YouTube channel, the more I share my vulnerability, the more I realized people were interested in what I had to say. So I was like, okay, well, let me continue to share this and show this so people don't feel alone, because I know I'm not the only one now. And then that ironically turned into another notch of confidence where it's like, oh, well, if I done cried on the internet, if I done told you some of my darkest moments and hours, can't nobody tell me nothing. And so since then, it's kind of just escalated from there. That was a very long roundabout answer. But I feel like that topic, I just felt like I had to bring it up.
It was thorough and necessary and needed. And you dropped some nuggets. I'm thinking, one, your focus. And Wes and I have been talking about this, like your mindset. That's mindset, right?
Yeah.
Focus. And when we talk about meditation and drawing your attention to things, focusing on what your strengths were and putting the energy into that.
Yeah.
like you said it, you did that, and now you're here.
Yeah.
And it sounded like it was intentional, but it didn't. It's not all woo woo and mystical. It's not like, okay,
Right.
I'm gonna bring my chakras into order, and now my focus is gonna be here. Like you were just like, well, damn, I can't do this, but I can do this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think that's the important part, because I feel like when people ask, like, you know, how did you become so confident? They're expecting this very mystical answer. And it's like, it's not that deep, not to get started, you know?
Mm-hmm.
You got to just make the choice.
But
that's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
You know, that's where I think that's the beauty of this month, and Disability Pride Month, because, you know, there has the intersections within Disability Pride, where, you know, you got the LGBT community, then you have people that are actually speaking on being proud of their disability outside of their sexual preference. And so, like, being able to speak on the barriers that we had to overcome to be confident individuals in society where they see us different is something that this month really has been able to highlight for certain people like me and Lolo, because there is levels to the confidence game, and it starts with visualizing yourself in that mirror, you know, and seeing and accepting and loving everything that you feel people are going to judge, you know, because I think, yeah, for me too, I mean, of course I was overweight, you know, at a point. So now I get confident just looking at my abs and my figure, and I know, like, I sit down, so certain things there's still flaws within that, you know, but those are flaws that I'm willing to accept because I am healthier. I do feel better. And at the end of the day, I know for me, I'm doing a lot more than the old me. Right. So if I'm doing a lot more than the old me, but the old me was trying to fit into society, so I was doing the same shit as everybody else. Well, I know that if I'm doing more than that, I'm not really worried about how people see me, because I'm most likely doing more than them to take care of me. So it's like, that's where the pride is, because it's like, I'm not worried. I know that there's adversity and I know there's judgment. So as long as I'm loving all of me, well, now you get to judge my success, because my success is gravitated from my confidence for me to be out here to maneuver in this world that you keep judging me at.
You said a piece. You said a piece. You said, you know, I'm doing more than the average. I was sitting on the couch. Quincy and I were sitting on the couch watching the Olympics and the Paralympics, and there was a commercial. We were like, damn, we're lazy. And no shame, you know, we were like, damn, she don't have 2 days. She out here.
But it's that real though, you know, and for me as an athlete, for me as a person that really gets into the gym, I'm never, when people look at me and they're like, man, like, you know, I will make gym jokes. I will, you know, say stuff like that. But it's not really necessarily where that the things that I'm doing to make myself better should make the next person feel like they're not there, right? Because you might not be doing some type of physical activity, but there are so many people, even like yourself, April, as well as your husband. Y'all activity is mental too, you know, because you're constantly growing and you're constantly teaching, which we all know is if we teach something, we learn it again. So like for that, I think a lot of people, because people see me all the time, like, man, you know, they see the physical part, and that's to them, that's blowing out the park, right? Like they like, damn, like I ain't doing nothing if I ain't working out. I'm like, but outside of that 2 hours that I'm working out, I'm spending 3 or 4 reading and writing and researching and educating myself. So it's like, if you're doing those, you're still doing a lot, you know? And so, you know, I always, at least for our listeners too, because I think just like Lolo, there are going to be certain people, even with disabilities, that can't do what I can do, you know? And that's why I like Lolo's video of like, all right, well, this is what, you know, the difference of disability, or the difference in her being able to get up and walk around and then get back and sit down. Because someone would see Lolo's video and then go give it to somebody with an injury like mine and say, well, look what you could do soon. And it's like, well,
Oh my gosh.
you know what I mean? Because then your confidence, like for me, is always guys with like amputees, double leg amputees, something like that. They're using a wheelchair, and everyone's like, look, check these videos out. I'm like, well, he got core strength. He doesn't have a spinal cord injury. His immobility is different. But it for me, with confidence, I'm okay with explaining it. For someone else without confidence, well, how can they be proud of who they are if you're trying to portray them to be somebody else instead of accepting the abilities that they have? You know, so that's where, like, again, it goes back into this month. You know, people need to be understanding that we're proud of what we're capable of doing and how we can maneuver in this world, but we're not trying to push that to someone else as much as we're trying to accept them for what they can do. Because it's just, and I know Lolo understands that, because you know, you see one superhero in the community,
exactly,
and everybody has to be at that level, and it's like, no, you know, everybody wasn't Batman, you know, everybody wasn't having this superhuman strength as much as maybe they used their mind to do things or project things, or, you know, you know, hey, y'all know what I'm saying.
No, facts. Facts. No, that's so important that you said that, right? Because it's like, you know, with what we've done already, you know, when you're in this space and you become you know, with an influencer or just whatever in this space, that's the perception people have of you, is like this superhero. Like, you tapped into something that everyone else does not have the ability to tap into. And what secret sauce or drink did you drink? Where is the water hole so I can drink from it too and become the same person at the same level and do it in less time? Because I want to be and do what you do. And it adds a level of like unrealistic pressure, in a sense, to people in our position, because very similar to what Wes said, his disability is completely different from mine, yet we're both wheelchair users, and people think, oh, you're wheelchair users. This is, oh, well, why can't you do what he does? And because, like, Wes can bench press, God knows,
carry his wheelchair up the rope with him.
Right, exactly. While me, I'm trying to just figure out how to lift my own arm on my own with no sense of resistance. Gravity is resistance for me.
Right.
Gravity is my weight, right? So it's like, but people would compare us and others and try to say, oh, well, trying to create a bar that does not exist. And the only thing that we can do is focus on the things we have the ability to do, because we have the benefit of working with our minds, right?
Yeah.
And letting that affect our bodies in whatever way that it does. But for those who have mental disabilities or mental illness,
right,
how do they find their strength and everything else when someone like myself, I don't have a mental illness or a mental disability? So how do I help that?
Yeah.
How do I help that crowd? The way I can help that crowd is by uplifting an influencer or someone that I know who is creating content that supports that community, but yet it's disability overall.
Right. So you can't speak to it all. You can only speak to what you know. And then, like you said, give credence to those who are in those other spaces. They try to tokenize us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I know it's a lot of look at this dude in a wheelchair and what he's doing, you know, especially for young Black men. And like Lolo said, you know, it's the instant that they want you to do that without sharing the struggle or the process that it got us to this point. Like, I didn't climb a rope right when I started. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it was a lot of barriers that I had to face or accept, even in the world. Right? Gyms aren't accessible. You know, you thinking about the perception that people have on you, so they thinking that you got this superhuman strength. Well, hell, I go into the gym, they already like, yeah, he ready. Like, no, it's levels. I don't even know how to curl yet, you know. But you're having these expectations of me because of the few people that you've actually started to focus on, right? Because we look at disability, well, it's been here. But there's a lot of people that's like, oh man, you know, this year is the first year that they found that there are people that are doing amazing things with their ability, right? Well, now that is the perception that society has, because society only perceives things in their own view, right? So like if I'm looking at disability, I don't want to be a wheelchair user if I can't be the man that's climbing the rope. So I'm going to tell everybody I know that that's what they should be, or that's what they should try to be, because that is how I see myself, because there's no other way I can accept myself if I'm not having this strength that looks pretty fucking amazing.
You know, what you're saying resonates with me because, yes, not only have disabilities been here since the beginning of time, like it's a part of who we are as humanity. Like even if you look at plants, not every flower, not every rose has the same amount of petals. Not every rose grows to the same height. There's diversity in nature, and we are a reflection of nature. And at any point, which I want to talk about our experiences with traveling, because we've all been, thank God, able to travel recently, and thank the divine that we're all healthy and we're well, and but when I was traveling, it was interesting. When I take my white lens, I say my white lens, even though I'm not white, we're born in this white lens system, right? So take that white lens off, take my lens off of ableism. And I'm like in Mexico, standing next to a dude, we're at the taco bar talking, and he has a prosthetic. Like fully functional, he has a prosthetic, and I noticed a mom breastfeeding her baby in her wheelchair. And it was beautiful to see that there was no taboo or anything spooky about it. But it really made me sit in this space of, at some point in our lives, we're all going to have a disability. At some point, we're going to not be able to walk. We're going to be in a hospital bed. Maybe not. At some point, we hurt our ankle. At some point, something happens to us where I've been depressed. I've been upset. I've had trauma that we all have it. So why do we all deny it?
Girl, listen. So I literally, it's so crazy that you say that, because I literally just made a video that I'll be posting tomorrow, actually, because tomorrow is the celebration of the ADA being passed. But that is one of the things that I discussed in my video, was like, you would think that because everyone will experience disability, whether it be temporary or permanent, at some point in their life, you would think that there would be more resources and more, if your goal was to help people. That's the key. If your goal was to help people, you would think that there would be more resources, more opportunities, and more ways to uplift the disabled community, uplift disability in a way for when it's their turn to experience disability, they don't feel like life is over. But the reason why everyone feels like life is over when they experience disability is because there isn't anything that is a great example. Well, it's not as big as I feel like it should be, but there aren't enough great examples to show like, oh, life is great. Life is good. When you're in the hospital, they're not giving you pamphlets to say, oh, don't worry about it. All you need to do is go here, go to this place, get your money right, go here, do the, no, there's none of that. They just leave you like, well, can't keep you in here any longer. Good luck. And then you're like, what the the fuck do you do now? You know? And it's like, and then you have to figure it out along the way. So I think that's I just learned something about life insurance where they say if you already have either like a pre-existing condition, or let's say you've been completely healthy, you get cancer, and now you're like, okay, I think it's time to get life insurance. You don't qualify.
You can't get it with a pre-existing condition.
You cannot get life insurance with a pre-existing condition. How backwards is that? You would think that the goal is like, oh, snaps, this person has a pre-existing condition. They may die sooner maybe than the average person.
And their family needs help.
Let them get no, we're not going to pay out because we expect you to die soon. So we're not going to help you or your family with that. And I was like, mind blown. Now, mind you, why am I 34 just learning about life insurance? That's a whole other issue within itself. But I'm just saying, that's the way disability is set up. That's the way disability is treated. So how do you find the light, in that, and very similar, like when you said you were traveling and you saw the mom breastfeeding and those types of things. The one thing that I noticed when I traveled to the Dominican Republic for my birthday, the first thing I noticed was how helpful everyone was. I mean, I traveled with a friend and my friend couldn't even touch my wheelchair. They were like shooing her away so they can push my wheelchair through the airport, so they can carry me into this van to sit in the van to get to the resort. I mean, I literally, me and my friends had to force their way to help me. That's how helpful they were. But as soon as I touched back down in LA, my homegirl had to push me.
The selfishness kicked in.
Carry the suitcase, push you.
Push me, push the suitcase through LAX. And there were people who worked for that particular airline just standing there watching it happen. And I was like, fucking America.
Mm-hmm.
That was the biggest difference I noticed between the two when it came to having a disability and going to another country and then coming back.
No, seriously, Lolo. When I went to London and I traveled by myself, it wasn't, even though there were obstacles, there was so many things that just, it made sense, right?
Yeah.
Like they had taxis, and even though like their ramps on the taxis could have been a little bit, more level.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they had a ramp on every taxi though. So they just pulled it out, and then the guy would push me up. And again, they needed to work on things, but it was more compassion. It was more empathy that was created. And then when you look at just the history of America, right? If you're not able to move and work in the labor force in a particular person's view, right, perspective, then you're less than, and so everything is set up for that. So whether you're Black and you're getting set up for welfare, and so you're being looked at less than in that, or you're disabled and you're getting set up for a disability check every month, which really can't take care of you. But what it does is it limits you and puts you in a category that says you less than somebody else because of your ability. And so even again, going back to just the Black community, our ability, our lack of knowledge is what we fail in. And so our lack of knowledge puts us where we're like, oh, let me get this welfare check. Oh, let me go get these food stamps. Oh, let me go sign up for this PPP loan. But seriously, because the lack of knowledge doesn't give us the ability to be free, right? So then when you think about people with disabilities, I acquired mine at 24. So my perception became my reality, and it didn't allow me to be the person I am now. It debilitated me because I thought I needed that monthly check. I thought I could work no more. I thought that's all that I could have. Like, I had never really visualized people, out in the community, like doing stuff with disabilities, right? Like, even at jobs, you really didn't see that.
Right.
So it was that perception. So I just kind of feel like that is really what it all embodies and goes into. If somebody's how they see you or what they think of what you're capable of.
Yeah.
And then they project that into, so when you go to other countries, they're seeing you as somebody, as human, right? And so they've dealt with so much adversity, no matter if you see it or not, that they come from an empathetic perspective and they just want to help. And then they know what your struggles are, but they don't make it seem like it's a job. And they don't make it seem like it's something that they're forced to do because they don't accept you. You just go in there and they're like, hey, come on. Like Lolo said.
It's practical.
It's practical.
And it's beautiful. It's something that is so welcoming that you like, oh, thank God, somebody understands me.
Like, I don't seem like I'm a burden. Like, I'm not a burden to you.
Exactly.
For people who don't know Lolo, I always, I look at your Instagram since Wes told me about you. She has 50,000 followers, or 49.9. So y'all go follow her and increase that. And you did do a video on the ADA, the checks and the support and how much, and Lolo broke it down. She's like, this is what you receive in disability. This is what this costs. I mean, it was like, it was something that's not substantial enough for any human being to live off of, especially on their own. And like you said, I'm 34, just finding out about life insurance. That lack of knowledge in our community is pervasive, and it's not our fault, right? Nope. Like, we grew up in this systemic, like, I worked at LA Unified School District, and my mother raised me in one part of town, and I went to teach in another part of town. And I was like, how come nobody knows how to read and write? How come nobody has access to books that are new? How come this information isn't handed to us, like you said, in the hospital? Here are the pamphlets. Here's the support you can get from these various agencies. No. Everyone is just focused on their job, and that lack of compassion is hurting all of us.
Exactly. It really is. And that's the thing. It's like, it's almost, how they always talk about like the 1%, right? Like the 1% that are basically the dudes flying in space because they have no other form of stimulation in life,
right?
Except to fly to space, right? But granted, hey, they built their things, rightfully so. They deserve to get whatever they want, right? So definitely not hating on it, but it turns into the 1% versus the 99. So many ways, right? Because and mind you, I'm sorry, there's like so many thoughts going. I'm kind of just trying to organize it. But that's what it boils down to. And it's like everything, very similar to what Wes was saying, was everything is set up for the 99% to stay the 99. Nobody wants the 99 to grow. They don't want the 1% to grow into 5%, 10%, 20. No, that's not their goal. Their goal is to be like, I'm the 1%. I want to stay the 1% with my friends who are also the 1%. And the 99 of y'all, good luck.
Yeah.
Hope you figure it out one day, but they're not going to make it easy. I mean, and that's why I feel like those who have figured it out are the ones who want it that bad. And that's a part of us having to fight our own existence in so many ways. Is we cannot allow ourselves to be complacent, because if this is what the rules are, this is how it's set up, we've got to find another way to do it.
Yeah.
And more for yourself,
Yeah. And I appreciate you. And we were having a discussion about this whole medium. Lolo's Instagram handle is It's Lolo Love. Is that the same as your YouTube channel?
No, my YouTube channel is Sitting Pretty Lolo.
Sitting Pretty Lolo, and she does sit pretty, y'all. I told her I had to step up my game and try and sit as pretty as she is today. So Wes and I are big proponents on, we recognize the problem, we speak to the problem, we speak truth to the problem. And just like you said, Lolo, like, okay, what are we going to do? And how do we do it? You know, what do we do to take care of ourselves and move ourselves and bring our fold with us? And you have done that. And how has that success been for you as an influencer?
Oh, it's been amazing. You know, it's been just incredible, because my focus has always been about helping others and really wanting to create representation for people with disabilities, and, you know, especially for Black women with disabilities, because I learned very early that when your focus is on helping others, your blessings come tenfold. So I never, and I also never limited myself on how I would share that message. You know, when I got the opportunity to act, I had never acted in anything before, but what it would mean to see a young Black woman with a disability in a film, whether it was going to be successful or not, thankfully it was successful, but whether it was going to be successful or not, what that would mean for someone who would eventually come across it, how that would change the narrative in so many ways was the most important part. So I had to figure out how to do this acting thing. And because of that, it allowed for more opportunities to act. But if I would have limited myself to say, no, I only do YouTube, I don't do that. That would be me blocking a blessing. That would be me blocking an opportunity to continue to spread the message. Because if the message is representation and disability, if a project comes along, an opportunity comes along that fits my moral compass, why not? Why not explore it? Why not try it out? Don't limit yourself in that way. And I think a lot of people do that, right? They're like, oh, well, I only do this and I shouldn't be allowed to do anything else. And it's like, no, because if the message is this, then do that. And so as my platform has begun to grow, the more and more people are learning about disability. They're becoming more open-minded to disability, whether they're non-disabled or disabled. They're realizing that disability can be experienced in a way that looks cool, in a way that looks fun. You know, I just recently went to a place where they sell accessible vans, and it was the vans were fly, but the place itself, it was all drabby. There was barely any windows. It was like gray wall.
It wasn't like the Mercedes-Benz dealership, right?
Exactly. And I'm like, why couldn't it have been looking like the Mercedes-Benz dealerships? I'm not supposed to come up in here and want to drop, you know, whatever the cost of the van is, when it look like this.
Yeah.
It don't make me want to buy this. So, but that's where my brain goes. And I think with my content, and the more that shows and the more opportunities that I get because my platform is growing, and because a level of financial freedom is happening for me, I'm seeing what another side of life really looks like. And how they experience that. Even my brother and I went out last night, and he was like, you know how, you know, in clubs and lounges, you got to buy tables, you know, bottle service and the whole nine, right? And my brother was like, why isn't there just a certain amount of tables designated to just people with disabilities? In the same way you go to a concert and they got the little sections, you buy the ticket for it, and you get to sit there. And I was like, damn, bro, I didn't even think about that. But that would make all the difference. If you as a person with a disability knew if you showed up by a certain time, let's say like 11 o'clock, you get to sit at a table without having to be forced to buy bottle service. But if you show up after 11, sorry, you missed your window.
Yeah.
And then that way it could be fair to both.
Right.
And then everyone could come in and have a good time and enjoy themselves. That section would be first come, first serve. So, do your thing, but everyone can have a good time. And so that's where my mind is going, because I know what it's like and the convenience of having bottle service, because financially it allowed me the opportunity to do that. But then I also know the other side of it too, when you're kind of just trying to find your space in a space that is predominantly occupied by, presumably, because we all know that disability is non-visible too, but presumably a majority of non-disabled people. And so that is what my platform has allowed me to experience and continue to, how do I take from this world and transition that into this world, and then making it an inclusive world altogether.
I love that.
That's where my brain goes now.
I love that. And we need that. And that you kept saying space. And I was just thinking, we're Sunday safe spaces, creating safe spaces. How do we create a safe space for women, for people of color, for being disabled? We went to a space yesterday and I looked around, I was like, we are the only 2 Black people in this whole space. Is it safe? You know what I mean? Like, I had to really think, like, let me just look around. And what you said, yeah, we're in a club, but how many folks are really fully, there's a lot of silent disabilities, right? And the neurodiversity, especially in the Black community. I've been teaching yoga class with kids with special needs at a school. And I left the other day and my heart really hurt, because there was one teaching assistant who I had probably 20 something plus kids, 3 classes, who was Black, African-American male. I would say about 90%, like I sat in one class where every child in that class was of color. African, Indian, Asian, Black, and both of the teachers were white. And that speaks to me, like, the depth of disability in the Black community.
Yeah.
Because we don't have access to health care, because we don't have the financial means to take care of I know sometimes I won't go to the doctor. I'm like, I got a mammogram. My half of the bill is $500.
Yeah.
So I just won't go. I'll wait.
Yeah.
We don't want to be there. But to say that they're 2 separate things and to not pay attention to it is a disservice to us. So I appreciate your platform and how you're saying that we exist. Yeah. This is and it's not isolated. You're not alone. Yeah. By any means.
At all. There's a billion of us.
Yes.
There's a billion of us.
Yeah. And the diversity within that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. Wes, do you have anything to say before we start talking about our books and our things?
I mean, honestly, no. I feel like we said a lot, in a very direct and unapologetic way. Is that we got to keep creating spaces for us, and everything that we represent. And I think the beauty of it, I always tell people, is that I get to represent communities, that are being discriminated against, that I have like a purpose or a driving force of the change that I'm trying to create. There are people that can sit down because of their privilege and not worry about how the world is moving. For us, that's our community. That's where we at. My favorite video is, that's where my grandma stayed. It's like, that's the realness of it. And so until we can, like, even last night I went out, and lately I really haven't had the urge to go into spaces that don't have enough of me. So I've been going into more of the urban districts and going into, I love to vibe with my people, and and I love to change something, because we know the perspective of even Black people within the Black community with disabilities. There are stigmas and things like that. So for me, I had to realize, like, yeah, I'm going to all these other spaces where they're using and throwing the word inclusion around because they understand how they can get checks. And then, we go into our community and they don't understand it. So it's like it's more worth us being in those spaces where that they now understand it, welcome it, and then bring more people to it. Then we going into spaces where people are like, oh shit, let me take this picture with you because now we got a person in here, and next thing you know, it's a lot more build and things and structure. So again, creating spaces, but also being able to be willing to go into the spaces that already accept you and that really speak your culture and your vibe, because we will sometimes get, I wouldn't say that a lot of us get like sidetracked, but when you're in this profession and this business, it seems like more people pull you so that you can be
Yeah.
in their space and make their space look good, but they're not willing to come into your space and make it look the same. And so it's like we always have to, when we're creating, we also just have to make that sense and be like, all right, you know what? Let me throw an event real quick and see how many of y'all gonna come. And
Yeah.
let me give you enough time like you gave me so that now you don't make excuses, because that is going to show me, are you willing to be uncomfortable in your space as much as I've been uncomfortable in yours? Like seriously.
Yeah.
And that's the reality of things. So I think create spaces, but also and go into spaces to create more opportunity, but be willing to get into your own space where you're already accepted, because we're still at ground level when it comes to our communities and where we need to be. So we can't just look at the community that looks good and not go back and try to make ours look as good as the ones that. So that's what I
That's good. That's 100. When we this past week we were talking. Mary Ellen works for Open Up, and she did a mindfulness thing for a panel of persons of all different abilities. And what came out of that has resonated with me all week. One guy, I can't remember. I don't know what his disability was, but what he said was that he appreciated the time, because a lot of times we come like from a lens of health, right? And it's like, we're going to teach you to focus, to meditate, to journal, to do all these things to take care of yourself. But he says a lot of people come like, this is going to make you better. This is what you need to do to become this healthy, able-bodied person. And that's not what this is about. And that's not even like what this discussion is about. It's about taking care of yourself. And so Wes and I try to share some things that we do and our guests do to take care of themselves. Lauren, what is it that you do to take care of yourself?
Ooh, girl. Let's see. I turn up every weekend. No. No, the number one of the biggest things that I do to take care of myself is I'm always hyper in tune with how I feel. I don't know if that's because I'm a Cancer. Could be. I don't know.
Emotions.
Right. But I'm always paying attention to how I feel. And based on that, I make the decision on how I'm going to go on about that day. I do my best to not allow outside sources to influence or crowd what I should or should not be doing. There's this assumption that, just because, running social media platforms and all this stuff, you have to post every day. You have to do this. No, you don't. No, you don't. You absolutely do not. If you are not inspired that day to create, if you are not feeling it, you're going through something or whatever. So social media will be there when you start feeling better again. And so that's one of the main things. If I'm not feeling it, I'm not doing it. I don't care if it's a job. If I read a script or something about the character I don't like, I don't do it. I've learned how to say no. And that has been one of the most beautiful things. Still working on it in other spaces, but that is how I take care of myself, because it creates boundaries that protect me and how I feel and my spirit and the things that I allow to have experienced towards me and that I experience out into the world. So there's that. I meditate as best as I know how, which continues to keep me in tune spiritually. And I genuinely do things that I love to do, whether it's get my nails done, go out, have fun, be reckless and shoot my shot at somebody. Like, I just do what I feel. Wesley's knows. So I just do what I feel. And I just, and I look at that as a way to take care of myself. I enjoy looking nice. I enjoy getting my eyebrows done. I enjoy getting dressed up. These are things that I like to do. I don't do it for anybody else. I don't do it because of, oh, what is the world's going to think? I don't care what the world thinks. I genuinely don't. And it makes it more fun that way.
Wes is like, she doesn't.
I really don't.
I don't either.
You know what I'm
I feel like
saying?
that's where you got to get to a point of growth. You just can't care no more.
You just cannot. And that's how I take care of myself. I have affirmations all over my apartment. I have vision boards all over the place. I read books about things that I genuinely want to learn about, that is fun to learn about, and all those things. And I surround myself with people who are on the same page as I am. Anyone who does not, quote unquote, measure up, naturally, they don't stay in my life. So I just continue to do me.
Yes.
And, and create the world and space that I enjoy. And that's how I take care of myself. I try and eat as best as I know how. I'm no nutritionist, but I'm like, eating fruit over ice cream sounds like a better option.
It could. Oh, I made some peaches today with butter and syrup to put on the pancakes. I was like, that's fruit, and it's real good.
Once I'm done here, I'm about to go to the farmer's market.
Yes.
Get my fresh produce.
There you go.
It's a thing. So all of those things, play a factor. And the biggest thing for sure is therapy. I go to therapy on a regular basis. Thankfully, I haven't needed a session, in a while, but she's always there. She's always a dial away. So having that resource helps me take care of me.
I appreciate you sharing that and that authenticity. And I think we've had probably 2 or 3 sessions about mental health.
Yeah.
And therapy, and, mental health for all of us is so important. And I love your authenticity. Like, you take care of you.
Yeah.
And that's beautiful, because we don't, a lot of us don't, we disassociate from our bodies.
Exactly.
We disassociate from how we feel.
Yeah.
And we function outside of that. And then that is toxic for us. So we don't thrive.
Exactly. And people really don't understand what it does for the brain, your spirit, when you just take care of yourself. It's more than just, or I should say something as minimal as like just choosing to get dressed.
Yeah.
Today. Even if you're going to be in the house, still choosing to look presentable or whatever the case is, however you want to put it, will really boost your spirit, and telling yourself that you are worthy is the biggest thing, because self-worth is a thing that I have, there goes my alarm, that I have had deep rooted insecurity in, that I work on with my therapist as well.
Right. I know we're all being cognizant of our time and respecting Lolo's time. I appreciate you. And I also really appreciate just all of who you are and you sharing your story and sharing your success and not holding it back, not shying away from that. You
Right.
know, it's important. And I can say, like, as an able-bodied Black woman who is maybe a little half right in her mind and who's older, like, you've influenced me
Wow.
in big ways. And so I can assume that I am, you know, a reflection of some of the masses. So yeah, you do definitely go beyond those who are disabled. I see your platform and I see you educating and growing like a whole new world. And I appreciate, you know, Wes for meeting you and connecting and
Yeah.
bringing you here. Real quick before we go, Wes, are you reading any new books?
You know, I just finished a book. It's called The Power of Awareness.
Nice.
And yeah, I mean, honestly, that one kind of blew my mind. Trying to see who's the author, but yeah, it was just yeah, it woke me up. It really just spoke on a lot of things, and really just like how Lolo was just speaking. You know, once you become aware, just everything kind of starts to gravitate towards you.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it was a very great confirming book. Let me see.
The Power of Awareness.
Yeah, it's by Neville, Neville.
Putting that
I'm
in
not,
my phone.
yeah, I'm not even gonna say the last name because I'm not good with names. So
That's okay. That's okay. What about you, Lolo? I haven't really been reading anything new and different. Radiant Rest by Tracy Stanley. I'm going through this yoga nidra training. So Octavia Rahim. Tracy Stanley is in California, and she used to be like a big time producer, director, assistant, and all of that. And now she's like a yoga guru, and I actually got to sit in a all day class session with her.
Nice.
So she wrote Radiant Rest, that's what yoga nidra is about, like being able to just settle and being in that liminal space, that space between awake and asleep. And that's where you tap into the essence of who you are.
Yeah.
So Radiant Rest has been my book. And yesterday I did a 2.5 hour sound bath.
Oh, I know that was everything. I know that was everything.
Blew my gyro.
I know that was everything. I did a 30-minute sound bath before. Right. I want to go back. Right. I want to do it again. Like it's because I actually fall asleep to you know, those sounds that are at like certain hertz and all of that. Like, yeah, I fall asleep to that. I like there's so much power in sound. Yeah, but the books that I'm reading, Mama, what's that book? That is Ultimate Chakras. Ooh. Oh, The Ultimate Guide to Chakras. It's hard for me to even get past page 10 because they start off with all of these exercises, but then the rest of the book literally breaks down every chakra and every stone, every oil, everything that can help you open up that chakra when you feel like it's blocked. It just breaks it down in a very simplistic way that anyone can understand it. And it's got lots of pictures and colors. And I'm a visual person, so I'm like a big kid. I need pictures. So that's one. And then, Mama, what's that red book? I'm almost done with it. Lift it up for me. Oh, The 7 Secrets to Healthy, Happy Relationships by Don Miguel Ruiz and Heather Ash Amara.
The 7 Secrets to Healthy, Happy Relationships?
Yes. So that's one that I'm finishing up. And that one is really good. I'm into like really practical self-help kind of style books.
Yeah.
In that way. But yeah, so those are the two that I'm working on right now. And then my all-time favorite book is The Alchemist. But
that's a great, right?
It's the best.
Mm.
It's the best book ever.
I need
in
to go back and finish it. That's a book you keep going to, I feel like.
Yeah. See, you know what? I try going back to it, but I get so excited that I can't get through it. I'm like, this is what I'm talking about. What he means by the shepherd and the sheep. Like, I lose my mind. So it's hard for me to go back. But it is literally it's so good. It's so good.
All right. I wrote all this down. We're going to share it. And I hope everyone can see the commonality. Like, you see the differences between the three of us, but you see like our common humanity too, right? Like, I mean, all of these books speak to just wealth and health. And when I mean wealth of soul, wealth of spirit, wealth of knowledge. And that's the beauty, you know, it's gotten us this far. So I think it's doing something right for all three of us, and for you too, Amy.
Yes.
Our silent partner in the back. Is there anything else you guys want to drop? Any wisdom? I will say the three of us will get together at home, because it's all of our homes now, and I look forward to it. I'm gonna call in. I don't know. Maybe I'll do a sound bath outside by the pool. We'll get it at my house, somebody's house. We'll make some stuff happen.
Let's do it. I'm totally down for that.
Yeah, it's a date.
Yes.
I'm with it.
Yay. And when I go to NorCal next week, I'll lay some roots down for you. I'd be like,
Hey.
I'm here.
Yes.
Nope. All right. Well, no, I think this was fulfilling. I think this was great. It was natural. A lot of information now, so I'm excited to, see the feedback, and just excited for people to hear it and listen. So
yeah,
good stuff.
And everybody, July was Disability Awareness Month.
Mm-hmm.
But what are we all going to say? It's not about a month, right?
Yeah.
This is humanity. This is who we all are. And so we encourage
take pride in that.
Yes.
That's good.
You could take pride in your disability.
Yes. Thank you. We're going to leave on that, because that's wisdom. That was wisdom. All right. Have a great week. Happy Sunday. It's summer.
Right.
I'm playing summer playlists all day. So I love you both. I thank you and honor you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, y'all.
All right, we're done. Thank you for joining us and listening to the podcast. If you would like more information on the guests and the stories that you've heard today, and to hear stories from others, subscribe to the podcast. We also invite you to subscribe to Open Up Pittsburgh's newsletter, as well as our YouTube channel. We want you all to take care, and remember to make your own stories. This is April. Peace.